Start with the lasting impact of the Chinese Exclusion Act. Talk to me about the human cost of this. Obviously, it tore families apart. Some family members already here. The U.S. stayed, but their loved ones were barred from coming and staying behind as a result.
That's right. There were families that were separated for 20 years. So fathers didn't see their own children until the children had grown up. These were families that were resilient, and they were seeking what everyone else was seeking, the opportunity here in San Francisco, the Gold Mountain.
During the 19th century, Chinese faced numerous internal problems, such as the Taipei Rebellion. These upheavals led to widespread destruction, loss of life, and economic disruption. Some Chinese people chose to leave the country to escape the chaos and seek a more stable environment. Moreover, with the discovery of gold in California in 1848, many Chinese hoped to improve their economic situation and thus desired to go to the United States. Additionally, there was a high demand for cheap labor to construct railroads, such as the first transcontinental railroad. Consequently, a large number of Chinese people went to the United States to work as laborers for railway building. However, the large influx of Chinese immigrants into the United States led many Americans to believe that the Chinese were stealing their jobs and depriving them of employment opportunities. As a result, discrimination against the Chinese people ensued.
Meanwhile, discrimination against Chinese people persisted in California, just as it did in other parts of the United States. Chinese immigrants seeking accommodation were often turned away because no one was willing to provide them with a place to stay. In 1861, the California Swamp and Overflow Act enabled landowners and private companies to join the once uninhabitable swamp in the Delta, thereby opening up possibilities for agriculture. The Chinese immigrants utilized the farming skills they brought from China and made efforts to the land in California. From 1860 to 1880, they cleared 88,000 acres of land and established a settlement named Luoke, which later became a well-known Chinatown. In Luoke, almost all the residents were Chinese, and Chinese characters were widely used in the settlement, such as on street names and store signs.
The large number of Chinese people arriving in the United States angered local Americans. Americans believed that Chinese were taking their jobs, thus causing them to lose employment opportunities. Due to this, some Americans aimed to drive the Chinese out of the United States. On May 6, 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed by Congress and signed into law by President Chester A. Arthur. This act prohibited Chinese immigration to the United States. The Chinese Exclusion Act had far-reaching consequences. It not only directly affected Chinese immigrants, but also gave rise to widespread anti-Chinese settlement and violent incidents. Many Chinese were forced out of a commercial area, subjected to violent treatment, and in some cases, even killed. Despite facing such severe discrimination, the Chinese did not passively accept their situation. They attempted to combat racism through legal means and challenged the legality of the Chinese Exclusion Act from 1882 to 1905. Over 10,000 lawsuits related to Chinese immigration and civil rights were filed. These lawsuits covered a wide range of issues, including challenges to deportation orders, disputes over employment rights, and claim of unfair treatment in public facilities. Chinese immigrants and their advocates agree that the Chinese Exclusion Act violated the principle of equality and justice inserted in the U.S. Constitution.
In 1892, 110,000 Chinese participated in one of the largest civil disobedience campaigns in American history, opting the Gary and Zucker and Chinese carry-on tax. The carry-on act was the extension of Chinese Exclusion Act, imposing additional reactions and humiliations on Chinese immigrants. The Chinese resistance movement was supported by the Qing government to some extent. The Qing government recognized the importance of protecting the rights and dignity of its overseas citizens and saw the movement and the opportunity to assert China's influence on the international stage. However, the movement ultimately failed. The Qing government, facing international and external pressures, especially the need for economic cooperation with the United States, gradually gave up its support for the overseas Chinese. It compromised on the issue of the rise of Chinese immigrants in the United States in exchange for other economic and political benefits. In 1905, in response to the severe adverse impacts and harm inflicted on Chinese people in the United States by the Chinese Exclusion Act, Chinese communities around the world united in a coordinated efforts to boycott American goods. Its boycott movement, known as the 1905 anti-American boycott, was as significant as the resistance against the discriminatory policies of the United States. The Qing government recognized the widespread anger among its overseas citizens and the need to assert Chinese dignity on the global stage. Publicly support the movement, it issued official statements condemning the Chinese Exclusion Act and expressing solidarity with the Chinese people cause. The boycott aimed to exert economic pressure on the United States, particularly starting American business and trade in an effort to force the U.S. government to reconsider and repeal the discriminatory law.
However, the boycott movement ultimately failed to achieve its goals. The Qing government, facing mounting external and internal pressures, was unable to maintain its support for the boycott. Certainly, the United States and other foreign powers imposed economic sanctions and diplomatic pressure on China, strengthening the already fragile economy. Internally, the Qing dynasty was grappling with political instability, widespread unrest, and the growing threat of revolutionary movements. These challenges forced the Qing government to prioritize its survival over the rights of overseas Chinese. As a result, the government gradually withdrew its support for the boycott and made concessions to the United States in exchange for economic and political benefits. This compromise significantly weakened the boycott movement, leading to its eventual disintegration. The failure of the 1905 boycott highlighted the Qing government's limited ability to protect its citizens abroad and its falling ability to foreigner pressure. Despite the widespread participation of Chinese communities and the initial support from the Qing government, the movement collapsed under stress on the broader challenge faced by China at the time, including its weak international standing and the internal turmoil. The boycott's failure also marked a turning point in the struggle for Chinese rights in the United States, as it became clear that meaningful change will require stronger advocacy and international solidarity in the years to come.
The repeal of the Chinese Exclusion Act was finally achieved in 1943. This was due to several factors. Firstly, anti-Chinese sentiment had subsided to some extent over time as the social and economic situation in the United States changed. Second, the establishment of the quota system was an attempt to manage the rapid increase in immigrants from other ethnic minorities to the United States, which also provided an opportunity to adjust discriminatory policies towards the Chinese. Third, and most importantly, the United States and China were allies in World War II. The United States recognized the importance of China's role in the war effort and the need to improve Sino-US relations. Repealing the Chinese Exclusion Act was seen as a symbolic gesture to show respect for China and its people. This historical event not only reflects the arduous journey of Chinese immigrants in the United States, but also demonstrates their indomitable spirit of struggle and pursuit of equal rights.